You know what's the best way to start a Saturday? Waking up early to watch a new episode of My Hero Academia. As a fan that gets very passionate about this series, this episode made me incredibly happy because this episode encompasses everything I love about My Hero Academia. And if you have been with me for a while, most likely you know that reason. And the reason for it is because of the spotlight this episode gave to all of our main cast of characters besides just Izuku. See, typically in a show, not just shonen, but just any type of series, usually it's always the MC that has the spotlight. You never have like a full episode focusing on other characters, trying to develop them, or chapters trying to focus on them or developing them. It usually always focuses on the MC and showcasing their development alongside these characters. But this episode kind of shifted away from Izuku and allowed a bunch of our characters to have the spotlight. Now, just FYI here, this episode, no filler from what I can remember, so don't worry about that. But the big point with this episode is that so many characters got the spotlight to showcase how much they developed, how much they've trained, but also how they work together as one unit to be able to achieve the impossible. I mean, let's talk about one of my personal favorite moments of this episode. It was the Ochako and Siro scene. That entire moment with Ochako using her quirk to raise the boulders and Siro's tape, and then you see it fall down to the ground, you know, sticks everybody to the ground while the boulders fall down too. It was just incredible, because you gotta imagine it like this. What we see our cast of characters doing UA, they're working together to take down opponents. And in a way, when you think about it, this is kind of how it might be like in the future. Characters working together to bring down villains. Because we saw this against the villain hideout raid. You remember the last major arc we had before All Might versus All for One? You had a bunch of these pro heroes working together. And that's kind of what we have going on here. All these cast of characters working together to, you know, pass this exam. And I just like that. It's a really nice feeling. I know it's a standard shonen thing to do, having our main characters working together to, you know, defeat an enemy or whatever, but I don't know, just the way this part of the arc actually showcased this, I felt like it fit really well, and it was done properly for, you know, just how I normally see it in a shonen. But okay, let's talk about what this episode was mainly about, and that is ideals, or crushing other ideals, or trying to go after your ideals. That's what this episode was really at when you get to the basics. And what I mean by that is that, as we all know, all of our characters are trying to achieve something. Ida wants to become a hero. Siro wants to become a hero. Ochako wants to become a hero. You get the point. All of our characters, they want to become a hero. But here's the big point of this. There's only a limited amount of spots for people to become a hero. And you gotta look at this from a different angle, okay? We get to see the character that Bakugo is up against in this episode, in Kaminari. This character is like, it's very obvious from the way this test is being done with the incredibly low passing rate, is that they're trying to get rid of riffraff, low-level heroes. They want to increase the, you know, level of heroes to where they're more professional, they get the job done better, and you just don't have anybody becoming a hero, which that's one of the big things that Stain caused a change in the system, and also what happened to All Might as well. Remember what Stain said. Stain said just because pretty much you have a license doesn't mean that you are a hero, which that's very true. I've talked about this, but I'm not going to get back into that, but that's what Stain's, you know, overall motive was, what he believed in, his ideals. And I've talked about it in the past of how his ideals are correct, but also wrong as well. There's a lot of problems in his ideology, and Izuku has showcased the flaws in Stain's ideology time and time again. But thanks to Stain's impact on the Hero Society, it's caused it to where this test is a little bit more extreme. It's not like the typical test. It was already hard to begin with, but thanks to Stain's publicity and how he became very public and well-known, and, you know, caused an increase in villains, to also how people view heroes in the first place, you know, it caused it to where they realize that they need to have better heroes. They need to have heroes that feel like better heroes. And then also with the fall of All Might the symbol piece cracking and hitting the ground pretty much, it caused it to where there was a big hole in society. All Might, which was this pillar holding up society, keeping villains back, is gone. And because of that hole now that's been left thanks to All Might hitting the ground, they need heroes to be able to fill in the spot. And that is why the test is so extreme. And that was the main point at the beginning of the episode, was that, look, you know, all these heroes, the reason why there's just such a low passing rate, they only want the best of the best to become a hero now. They're making it to where there's only a limited amount of spots for people to become a hero, which makes sense in the end. They just want high quality. They want quality over quantity. And that's what they were doing in the past. You're always thinking about quantity over quality, and obviously that has not worked out well for them. So now they're trying to breed better heroes, and now we got the main point of what this arc is about. Now, here's the next part about it. See, everybody has their own ideals. Everybody wants something, to achieve something, either for personal fame, to, you know, help out their family, or to actually just be like All Might and be a proper, true hero. Everybody has their own motives, regardless of the reasons. They all have something they want to accomplish. And My Hero Academia has always had these fundamentals to where it's always about ideals. I mean, the whole battle between All Might versus All for One was pretty much just a clash of ideals. These two and how they viewed society and how it should actually be, and Stain as well. So, when you see this going on, and these characters passing and felling, you gotta look at it from a different angle. They're being forced to have their ideals stepped upon. For instance, the scene with Izuku in this episode is very, like, small. It was a very subtle scene. But you have a dude on the ground, it's like, please, we need to pass and all that. You know, you want to understand, this is like one of our final chances. And Izuku's like, I need to do it as well. And he, you know, he knocks the dude out, basically. You know, he eliminates him, and Izuku gets to move on to the next round. Now, at first glance, when you look at that scene, it doesn't look like it's relatively important. It just looks like a standard scene, like, you know, okay, Izuku passed, and this dude just failed his test. Yes, but look at it at a different angle, okay? Let's look at this as like a college exam. Let's say there was a limited amount of spots to get into the college you wanted, and you failed because someone just trampled over you and took your only spot. And then you're forced to go somewhere else to a different college that you didn't want to do, that might not have the same programs or the classes that you wanted. That's basically what Izuku did to someone. He straight up just, like, crushed that dude's ideals, his dream for Izuku can march forward and become what he wants. For instance, the next symbol of peace. And this plays a big role with what All Might did as well. Remember what All for One said earlier on for Season 3 of My Hero Academia. He's like, I bet it felt very nice with you standing on top of a giant pillar of peace on top of all my friends' bodies. And basically saying All Might knocked so many people down, you know, crushing their dreams, their ideals. Even though they were villains, he crushed all their ideals, their dreams, to be able to be what he was. And All for One talked about how angry he was that All Might had a good view after crushing all of his, you know, henchmen. So that right there shows once again how the society works. All Might crushed people's dreams to get where he's at. And that is kind of what Izuku did in that moment, which just really starts making you think that, you know, Izuku is responsible for certain individuals maybe not to achieve to become a hero. So there you go. I find that scene very cool. I know that many might think I'm thinking too deep on it, but at the end of the day, the core of My Hero Academia is to show these things in the system. The flaws of the system, but the qualities of the system that work as well. It's been a theme that's ongoing since the very beginning we've seen. I mean, let's look at Shigaraki and his entire character. You know, let's look at what, you know, All for One is, to, you know, All Might and all that. These characters have always, you know, showcased flaws within the system or showcased the qualities of it, so it's once again continuing that theme. But okay, so anyways, I do like at the end, the second half of the episode, we get to see, you know, Aoyama actually showcase how relevant he is. Now, I know many are going to be quick to put the man down, and I've personally put him down in the past in anime reviews and manga chapter reviews, but I've also talked about how great of a character he is, and he does have, you know, a complex, you know, theme going on behind the scenes with him. For instance, how he feels very inferior, and he feels like he is not as good as everybody else, but he does want to stand out, and it kind of clashes with his overall appeal. For instance, he always wants to sparkle, twinkle, you know, stand out, but in reality, he's someone that honestly seems very weak in comparison to everyone else in UA. He even seems honestly weaker than even Minato, which just, you know, you wouldn't think that man would be relatively strong in the first place. So it goes to show that Aoyama has, you know, a complex where he feels he's inferior. So I personally like the scene to where the man realizes that he does have some good traits to be able to help out in the future. And let's talk about that, for example. So when he, put himself backwards and he shot a laser into the sky, it looked very weird. Even Ida was like, what are you doing? Like, seriously, what are you doing, man? This is weird. And it was weird. But we gotta look at it from a different angle, what he did. What Aoyama did might not have seemed that important at the end of the day compared to everybody else popping up and saving the day. But what Aoyama did was very vital for hero work. Think about it like this. Let's say someone was injured, okay? Someone was stuck and Aoyama found them, okay? But, he was the only one there and everybody else was still finding them. Like, okay, example, let's say they were on an island. Okay, I don't know why, but let's just say someone was trapped on an island, there was a search team looking around and all that, and Aoyama somehow got to the island. He could shine his beacon straight up into the sky. If it was middle of the night, it would be even better. People see that light, and then they'll realize that, oh crap, let's go over there because he most likely found the person. Aoyama is someone that could easily make it to where people will go to his location, rally up together to be able to find someone. So he would be definitely a good person to have a meetup point with. Like, if there's someone they need to find and he finds him, shines the light in the sky and they get their signal that they need to go over there. Or he could just be a signal hero. He gives signals out to when you need to attack or when not to attack. He would just be a good hero for information gathering as well, for you to know if it's okay or not. So Aoyama, his quirk may not seem relatively that crazy from what we've seen thus far, at least with the anime, but it does have its usefulness, and we get to see how it worked pretty well with UA in this episode, and that's why I really like that scene. Now, speaking of all the other characters, let's talk about Ida for a second. Ida, I've always loved him. He's always been one of my personal favorites. I mean, I have a lot of personal favorites when it comes to My Hero Academia, but Ida, I've always loved his character ever since the Stain arc. Like, he really grew on me as a character because of just how he was. Like, how he was fueled by anger and aggression towards Stain, to get vengeance against Stain after what happened to his brother. His brother's ideals, his dreams got just snapped and crushed. You felt bad for you. But then at the same time, you realized how wrong he was, how messed up he was. And when the man's arm was ruined, and he's like, look, I don't want to repair my arm completely because I want to have this until I become a proper hero. I'm like, yo, I love this man. Ida is such a great freaking character. And seeing how he represents himself throughout this episode, saying like, look, I'm just going around trying to find everybody from UA, help them out to pass. I'm just like, that's a good man right there. That legit is just straight up a good freaking man. He's a great class representative, and it just makes me love his character even more, just seeing how he cares so much about the class. He's willing to sacrifice his spot to being able to pass just to be able to help out everybody else in the class. Just shows how selfless he is. He's honestly a proper hero already, but he still has a long way to go until he could probably meet the levels of where his brother is at, or was at to be exact. You also get to see all the other members of Class A showcase their skills and their improvements. Like, we get to see, Tokoyami, he actually is able to use his Dark Shadow, and it's like a stand pretty much. He just starts wiping people out. Mineta is grabbing the balls off his head and just slinging them and trapping people, which, let's get in that for a second, okay? I know when it comes to the community of My Hero Academia, anime and manga, Mineta is not a liked character. Many do not like him for some obvious reasons, I admit. I understand, especially if you're a manga reader and you know certain things that happen in the future, then yeah, I mean, I understand. But at the same time, I've always been very straightforward with all of you. I like Mineta. Yes, he's a bit of a scumbag, but I like Mineta. I like how his character, how he fits the standard perverted mold of it like you would see from a common character, but he's incredibly intelligent. You think he'd be very stupid, but he's incredibly intelligent. He's one of the top of the class, and his quirk, even though it seems very stupid, it's a very strong quirk. I mean, he beat Midnight in the past with his quirk. His quirk literally sticks people and they cannot move, which is incredibly powerful. It's an incredibly powerful quirk. So, Mineta's quirk, even though it has some weirdness and drawbacks or weaknesses, especially if he pulls too much out, he starts bleeding, which we see in this episode, Mineta has a very strong quirk, and I love seeing him use that to his advantage to be able to defeat opponents. Like, he just, throws his balls from his head all over the place just to be able to keep everybody in a spot where he can actually win. And I'm just like, yo, that's really cool. I just love Mineta. He's a unique little character, and I just want more of him. I can't wait till,
Horikoshi actually decides to dive a little bit more into him, give him a little bit more spotlight, because I'm looking forward to it, honestly. Now, I guess I want to talk about what everybody wants me to talk about, and that'll be the beginning segment of the episode with Kaminari, Kirishima, and Bakugo. That scene, I think, is very obvious. Everybody's going to understand the fundamentals of what that was about. But it's an incredible scene because it shows how Bakugo is developing. And I've talked about this in the past to you anime-onlys in my Season 1 and Season 2 reviews. And even some parts of Season 3 I've talked about it. I've talked about how Bakugo, at first, he's a jerk. You're not going to like him. I talked about this in my Season 1 reviews. I remember saying, like, most likely nobody's gonna like Bakugo. I remember saying that. I forget the exact video, but I remember saying my Season 1 reviews, I remember saying nobody's gonna like Bakugo unless you're a manga reader, or if you just like jerk characters, because Bakugo's personality at the beginning, he was unlikable. He was just straight unlikable, and you cannot deny it. Even if you're a Bakugo fan, you have to admit, when the series first began, he was an unlikable man. But after his development throughout Season 1, and then Season 2, and then now Season 3, he's slowly changed, fitting in with our main group of characters, and we see how Kaminari, he's very aware of how much Bakugo has changed, or how people could easily misjudge him, and I think that was a very smart play on Horikoshi's part to really develop Bakugo, because when you look at him from, the outside appearance, he's a savage individual that obviously does not fit at the mold of a proper hero. He seems more like a villain than anything else, which was the whole reason why the villains captured Bakugo in the first place, because he honestly fits the mold of a villain. And I remember many talking about, Bakugo when the series first began, even myself included, he could potentially turn into a villain. But, I'm glad that didn't happen, because that would be like a Sasuke scenario from Naruto, which, thank God that didn't happen. But, I mean, he did fit like that. But thanks to finding out more about his inner psyche, his personality, and the huge wake-up call he got after, Izuku beat him in Season 1, he's toned down a bit. He's realized that he isn't, top dog. He realized that he isn't that special compared to everyone else. Yes, he had a crazy quirk growing up throughout elementary and middle school, but that doesn't mean that he's going to be able to compete with the people in high school, which is, UA. Everybody has a unique quirk, and he has to be able to understand that, there's going to be many instances where he's not the best. And so he had a huge wake-up call, and we've seen him slowly change to where he realizes, he isn't the best, and he still has a lot to work on, improve on, and he even entrusts Kaminari with one of his, abilities just to be able to have him pass. Like, Bakugo legit knew he was about to get, taken over and turned into a little meatball, and he threw a little grenade over to Kaminari to use, which is incredible, because if this would have been Bakugo in Season 1, or even some aspects of Season 2, he never would have done that. But he did that because he knew. He's let go of some of his pride to be able to be a proper hero, and when he gave that to Kaminari, he's like, I'm entrusting you to get us out of this. So that's just a great moment, and Kaminari instantly knew how much Bakugo has changed. He's like, the reason why Bakugo didn't use his massive AoE attacks was because he would hurt everybody else in the area, which just goes back once again to the fundamentals of being a hero. Remember the fight with All For One and All Might. Remember what All For One said. He's like, All Might, heroes have a lot to protect, don't they? And, you see it pan over to the people behind All Might that was in the broken down buildings, which basically meant that heroes are always at a disadvantage. Not just because their quirks are known, which that's what UA is dealing with throughout this entire exam, because everybody knows about them and how their quirks work, but also, heroes in general, they're always at a disadvantage against a villain, because a villain, they don't need to worry about people's lives. They're already evil people, so they don't care about people. They're willing to just get rid of them like it's nothing, to just take down, a hero, or just to further their ideals. While heroes, they have to worry about that. They have to worry about the damage to the buildings, people in general, and also they can't just take out their aggression so far on a villain and kill them. They have to also hold back on that aspect as well. So, heroes are always at a disadvantage, and you can see where Bakugo is starting to be more like a proper hero, realize his surroundings, and trying to limit his quirk to where he doesn't hurt anyone. Because his quirk could easily be a dangerous weapon. And that is what the big point of that part was, is that Bakugo has realized that he can't just go all out all the time. He needs to be able to control his quirk, and that is why he developed small little bursts with his quirk and all that, to be able to have a controlled space, to be able to, you know, minimize the amount of damage in an area. So that's cool, and I like how Kaminari was able to figure that out, but also we as watchers or readers of the series got to notice how Bakugo is also factoring that in as well. But okay, so anything else for me to talk about? Let's see. I've talked about the Zero stuff. I've talked about, you know, UA passing, or all of UA pretty much passing. I think I've covered about everything. I don't think I have missed anything. Yeah, I mean, I guess I could get into a little bit of details of the characters that were introduced, but I think relatively that's very easy to explain, or everybody will get the concept of it. So, yeah, I think that's about it. So let me know your thoughts in the comments below, how you felt about this episode. How'd you feel about, you know, Bakugo? How'd you feel about, you know, all the class, you know, working together to pass? How do you feel about the clash of ideals or crushing people's ideals? You know, be honest in the comments below. And I love you guys. You have a wonderful day or night wherever you live. Please be safe, stay healthy. If you enjoy my content, you know, please subscribe. If you like this video, please leave a like. And if you want to get notified for whenever I upload a video, please click the bell icon down below, because for some reason, even if you subscribe, you don't always get notified for when a video is uploaded. So if you want to get notified, click that bell icon. With that, Chibi out.